Hello and welcome to the weekly championship predictions from the Honest Football Podcast. I'm Craig Savage and with me as always it's Charlie Betts and Daniel Cody. Post-lockdown we did championship predictions and we was quite successful. Maybe not, no we weren't. So we thought we'll carry on for this whole season and we're going to do points. Unofficially we did do points but one of us didn't agree.
Two of us didn't agree.
We haven't got time for the story, but I can tell you why that didn't happen. But anyway, go for it.
So, points game is as follows. It's 3 points for the correct score. For example, if I said Luton to beat Middlesbrough 2-0 and it ended 2-0, I get 3 points. 1 point for the correct outcome. So, for example, I said Luton to win 2-0 and it finished 1-0 to Luton, that'd be 1 point. And obviously no points if you get it completely wrong. So we start off with the opening fixture on Friday night. It's Watford versus Middlesbrough. It's the second time in 2 seasons now that Middlesbrough have opened the championship. So I'm going to start off with myself. It's going to be a hard one, to be honest. Watford recently relegated, new manager. To be honest, we still got a transfer window to go. Normally the transfer window shuts before the first ball is going to be kicked. But Watford's still got some stars in their team. Decore is still there just about. Apparently he's going to go to Everton. Troy Deeney's still there. Andre Gray's still there. Delafeu's still there. Ben Foster's still there. So they've got some real experience. The problem is the new manager. And obviously he's not used to English football. With the owners involved as well, I can see him getting sacked in the first few months if it doesn't go their way. Looking at their opening fixtures. Middlesbrough, on the other hand, Neil Warnock is a genius. He kept Middlesbrough up. He done what he had to do. He thought he was going to retire, but he stayed on for one more year. Started off with a League Cup win, just about 4-3 against Shrewsbury, I believe. How do I see this one going? I think Watford will win this one 2-1. Charlie?
I see where you're going with that, but I think if I wanted any manager to be playing against a newly relegated team, it would be Neil Warnock. I think he's going to go there. First game of the season, we all talk about the cliches, we'll get them out of the way now, but you don't want to go and concede early and all that kind of stuff. But actually, if there's a man who's very good at that, it is Neil Warnock. So I actually think he's going to go there, not fussed about getting a win. Everyone's expecting probably a Watford win after obviously coming down from the Premier League. So for me, I'm actually going to go for a 1-1 draw. I think Warnock's got enough in the tank, although Middlesbrough, as you spoke about in our previous episode about our whole season prediction, haven't really made any major signings. They haven't really lost anyone either, which is a bit of consistency under Warnock. I just think he'll be stout for the first 5-6 games, build on that. So for me, 1-1 draw.
Daniel Cody.
Probably a little bit different to both of you, actually. Middlesbrough, I saw Neil Warnock last week talking about his frustration at not really getting signings in yet. So I think he said he wants to add 4 or 5 still, which would suggest he thinks he's fairly short. The signs have been positive under the Watford manager. A lot of people coming out and speaking, or I should say head coach, shouldn't I? Because he doesn't have any say in management. But the signs have been positive because he's come out and talked a lot, or the players have come out and talked a lot about his good training style. It's a good philosophy. And there seems to be a bit of excitement there. I've predicted them to win the league, so I've got to predict them to win games early on. So as a result, I'm going to think Middlesbrough probably will be resistant for a while, but once the first goal goes in, it could get a little messy. So I'm actually going to go for a confident win. I'm going to go for 3-0 to Watford, as much as it pains me as a Luton fan.
The first 12:30 kickoff on the Saturday. It's Birmingham City versus Brentford. Brentford missed out on the playoffs final. They lost there to Fulham. Daniel, starting with you. Who have you gone for?
Well, it looks like Brentford won't have Watkins for the game because it looks like he's about to join Villa for 28 million up front, which is unbelievable business, by the way. Birmingham have strengthened well in the window. They've done a really good job so far, but there's still so much going on off the pitch that you don't know what effect that will have. As a result, as I have done for probably 4 or 5 of these games in the first weekend, you just don't know, and you're going to look silly regardless. So I've gone for a safety first here, an exciting 2-2 draw. My first game you must watch of the weekend.
It's going to be a weekly thing, isn't it? Charlie Betts, going for you.
Yeah, I can see. I mean, I know that they obviously lost Ollie Watkins. That's gone now. But I still think at the minute they've still got enough of that good quality they had last year. They've added Ivan Toney. So I think Brentford will get a win. But I still think that, like I agree with you, Dan, that Birmingham have strengthened. It's going to take a lot longer for me than a few pre-season games to get all of those. I mean, it's nearly like 10, 11 signings they've made, isn't it? I think. So for me, I think it would be a bit too soon for Birmingham to start putting runs against big teams together. But I still think they've got goals in them. So I'm going to go 3-1 Brentford.
Yeah, to be honest, I'm going to have to go for a Brentford win myself. I watched them against Wycombe last week in the League Cup, and yeah, you could tell they're missing some key players, and they didn't really convince him, but it's a lovely new stadium. However, they're away. Birmingham, on the other hand...
That was brilliant.
Birmingham, on the other hand, yeah, as you said, Charlie made those signs. I can't see anything else in the Brentford win, really. I think they're just too strong for them. So I'm going to go for Birmingham 0, Brentford 2. The second 12:30 game on Saturday is between the two teams who were League One last season. It's Wycombe Wanderers versus Rotherham United. Charlie, start with you.
I think out of all the games that Wycombe would be targeting as a thing, obviously throughout the season, playing League One opposition, physical side, I'm going to go for a resounding Wycombe win. And I'm going to put this out there now. Joe Jacobson free kick, Akinfenwa header. 2-0 Wycombe.
I'm pretty sure Akinfenwa's not fit to play, is he not?
He will get one. He'll come on and get one. No. All joking aside, I think they'll get a good result. It suits them, these sort of games. It's when they play against decent footballing sides, that's when it becomes a bit tougher. So for me, 2-0 Wycombe. Jason will score a free kick though.
I've gone the complete opposite to Charlie. I actually think that against the sides who are more well-drilled and a bit more structured is where Wycombe will struggle slightly. And against the footballing teams, I think they might cause a few shocks. I think both teams are going to be very well set up. That's probably what they're both known for. Paul Warne's done a brilliant job at Rotherham. Ainsworth similar at Wycombe. So as a result, I think the safest bet is to say they're going to cancel each other out. And as a result, I think they'll both make a mistake at the back. So I'm going to go for 1-1.
Charlie went for Wycombe win. Cody went for a draw. I've gone the opposite way. I'm going to go for Rotherham. I think, as Charlie said, it's the perfect game for both sides. It's something that's going to be at your level, where you can be at the end of the table come the end of the season. Wycombe just seemed a bit sloppy. I've seen a couple of pre-season games from them, some highlights. Obviously watched them last week against Brentford. I don't know. I think it's going to be, I said, I put them to finish last and Rotherham just a bit higher, but I think Rotherham will win this one 2-1. Two teams who survived on the final day of the Championship last season: Barnsley versus Luton Town. I think this is going to be one of the games of the day. I really do. That's my game of the day, damn it.
That's my game.
No, it's my game. No, I think this is going to be one of the games today. I think Barnsley somehow miraculously survived under Struve. It looks like they played some really good football before the season ended. Luton, on the other hand, as well, they played some all right football. Just they got results. They were much tighter. Got a good 3-1 win against Norwich. Forget what team Norwich had. It's still Norwich City. They've just recently got relegated from the Premier League. I'm going to go for the same scoreline. Luton beat Norwich. I'm going to go for 3-1 Luton. Charlie.
I'm factoring in a few things here. I think actually, of all the things that happened last season, Luton's away record towards the end of the season was very good. And I would like to think that will continue. I think that actually, without making too bold a statement, I'd fancy Luton away against a lot of teams in the league, actually. I think they're well suited at soaking up sort of pressure and then going from there. But obviously, Barnsley, you'd like to think at home will try and come out a bit more, which I think would suit Luton. I don't think it's going to be as high scoring as what you're going to say, but I do think it'll be a Luton win. I just think there's still that element of a little bit of, like you say about Carter Vickers as well, still a little bit, not ropiness at the back, but there's still a bit of a vulnerability. So I think Barnsley might get one, but I think Luton will get two, and possibly both from James Collins. 2-1 Luton Town.
Daniel.
I was tussling between 1-0 Luton and 2-1 Luton, the same as Charlie. I'm going to have to copy him because that Barnsley have signed a young player from Liverpool since we recorded our pre-season predictions, but they still don't look anywhere near strong enough. And they relied on all three teams that went down last season having shockers towards the end of the year or points deductions. For Luton, there's still that little question mark at centre-half for me, but they've got attacking fullbacks again, which is something they missed quite badly last season. There's still a little bit more creativity up front, and James Collins started the season with a hat-trick in the Cup. So for me, there's positive signs, and although I know this could bite me in the face, I'm going to go for 2-1 Luton as well.
Bournemouth, relegated from the Premier League on the final day last season. They are home to Blackburn Rovers. Daniel, start with you.
I found this one probably the hardest to predict of the weekends. They're two sides that I actually had in my outside list for relegation this season. And Bournemouth have lost a lot of players and they haven't yet replaced them. And it's all good saying there's money to spend, but it hasn't been spent yet. And there haven't been players coming in. Blackburn, similarly, I'm not convinced by them at all. But they were playing quite good football last season. And despite a couple of injuries, they've got some good players at the club still. So I actually think Bournemouth might start trickily today. New manager. Not experienced, obviously, and Tony Mowbray is the wily old fox. So I am going for Blackburn Rovers to nick an away win by the same score as the last game, 2-1.
Charlie.
I just like the Tony Mowbray is a wily old fox. No, I sort of agree with you. I think Bournemouth are in a bit of a state of obviously, just basically it's a fire sale at the minute, isn't it? The manager coming in, I don't think I can't see Bournemouth getting a win early on in this beginning of the season. So Blackburn, actually, I know what you're saying about them, but they were there or thereabouts last year. I know they tailed off a bit, but they're not the worst side. So I do think, especially away from home, there's going to be a bit of pressure on Bournemouth. So I think I agree with you. It'll be a Blackburn win, but this time I'm going to go 2-0 Blackburn.
Ooh.
This is probably the one game I wasn't really sure on. As you said, Bournemouth, obviously the fire sale of players, obviously selling for millions, so it's good for them in the business point of view. For the players' point of view, it's not good. Blackburn got rid of a lot of experienced players, quite youthful now. Blackburn, They were quite youthful in the last game of the season. Graham Jones in there now as a coach, very negative man.
We know you don't like him, Craig. We know you don't like him.
I don't like him at all. I thought I would, but I didn't. Do you know what? I'm going to go for a draw. I'm just going to play safe. Go for a draw. I'm going to go for 1-1. Bristol City against Coventry, winners of League One last season. Coventry City with Tyler Walker there for Coventry. Tyler Walker's now in the Championship.
I meant Geordie Hula. Can I clear this up? No arrows in your notes. It's a mistake. I get it.
Yeah, so please don't put a thumbs down. We know we made a mistake. Well, he made a mistake.
It happens to the best.
He made a mistake. It happens to everyone. I said Grimsby as an answer when that was giving the clue.
Sky Sports News, you can have a tally.
That is true. Anyway, Bristol City versus Coventry. Charlie, starting with you.
Taking out all personal invest after the Coventry comments that we received. I do generally think Bristol City will get a win. They've signed Chris Martin, 31 years old, obviously. No, they've signed him from Derby, which I mean is a great signing. I know he's getting on to near the end of his career, but he's still a fantastic Championship striker. They've signed other players I'm sure you'll tell me about in a minute. But I just think they've got a little bit of quality. Coventry, all joking aside, do lack goals, as we've well highlighted. I just think coming in their first game, Bristol City, a fairly settled squad. I just think it'll be, especially towards the end of the season, they put a good run together. So I'm going to go 2-0 Bristol City.
No, I'm going to have to agree with the same scoreline as Charlie. 2-0 Bristol City. As I said, Bristol matched from some really good signings lately. And to be fair, before the end of the season, they were actually doing all right under the new manager. And obviously, you've got Chris Martin now there. Obviously, Naki Wells is still there. So obviously, if them two form a really good partnership, they could push the playoffs. Alfie, I've just going to hit Cody's transfer target now. Oh, transfer player. Alfie Mawson's now at Bristol City. That's a very good sign as well. So yeah, I'm going to go for a clean sheet for Bristol City and start reality back to the Championship for Coventry. 2-0 Bristol City. Cody.
I've gone for just the 1-0, just to keep things a little bit measured, because don't want to be upsetting Coventry fans again. Can I just point out, I did also say I really enjoyed watching them in League One, and I desperately do hope they stay up, but I don't think they will. And obviously, I meant Hawula, not Tyler Walker. However, Bristol City, since these predictions, I was speaking to Craig off camera before Charlie got here. I said, if we'd been doing our predictions for the season today, I would have put Bristol City as my playoff team. Because they've signed Alfie Mawson, they've signed Chris Brunt, they've signed Steven Sessegnon, they've got Chris Martin, all since our last episode. Yeah. And that's why it's impossible to predict 5 weeks before the window shuts. But as a result, I can't see them conceding. I mentioned about Coventry not being one of the top scorers in League One, despite winning the league. So I have to go 1-0 Bristol City, just because I'm not sure how quickly they'll have gelled, but definitely a win for Bristol City.
Cardiff City versus Sheffield Wednesday. Sheffield Wednesday currently bottom of the Championship with a minus 12-point deduction. Oh well, it's your own fault. Cardiff, on the other hand, I predicted them to be in the playoffs. I said they're going to be solid. I think they're going to start solid, despite losing last week in the League Cup, which I felt like it was a glorified friendly. I don't know about you, what you guys thought of that. It just felt like a glorified friendly with all the internationals going away. I think Cardiff are going to win this one 3-1. Cody.
You nearly fooled me there. So, since the last season predictions, obviously, Shea Ojo's joined during the week for Cardiff. So, I think they're going to do well this season. I've predicted them for the playoffs as well. But Sheffield Wednesday, as I said at the weekend, they're one of the sides that really impressed me in the window. And if it wasn't for minus 12, I would have had them as an outside playoff pick. And last season, don't forget, Sheffield Wednesday started brilliantly and then collapsed in the second half of the year. So I'm going to go for a solid start for both teams. And again, I'm playing it safe. I'm going to go for 1-1.
Charlie.
I found this probably the toughest one to call for the reason that you both highlighted fairly good reasons both sides. I just think actually people are wrongly writing off Sheffield Wednesday. I think once you look into it, they're as we said, they've signed some good players. The only thing that go against them is you're trying to get them to gel very quickly. However, I just think that with some of the lads they've got, Cardiff, I know they were good last year, but I just think, there's a lot of pressure on them to get a result early on. I actually think Sheffield Wednesday will sneak 1-1 was basically what I'm saying. That was a long-winded way of saying it. But I think Wednesday will sneak one. I think they've got nothing to, there's no sort of thing on them. Everyone's written them off. So for me, I think they'll actually play a bit of freedom. They've got some good ball players there. 1-0 Sheffield Wednesday.
Bold.
Derby County versus Reading at the Pride Park. I'm going to start off with Charlie on this one.
Just a little side note, I saw that Quinton Fortune has joined the Reading coaching staff, which I thought was a bit of a outside sort of thing. So there you go. Again, I don't know. This is a bit of a nothing one for me. I'm not too sure which way it's going to go because Reading, I don't really know. And it's not an offensive. I don't really know what Reading are at the minute. Are they a team who are going to be pushing for the playoffs? Are they a team that are happy to just sit in the middle of the championship? Are they a team who are staving off relegation? Do you know what I mean? They're just sort of bizarre. Yeah, do you know what I'm getting at? So I don't know. For me, that makes them difficult to predict because some weeks they'll be brilliant, other weeks they'll be all over the shop. But I do think Derby have lost a bit of, I know we said a minute ago, but even losing Chris Martin and players like that, they actually sold more than what I think they brought in, which is a bit bizarre for a team that was hoping to get promoted. So I'm banking on Reading turning up and putting a brilliant performance together. They've signed that Ijara from Liverpool as well. So I actually think they might sneak one. So I'm going to go for 2-1 Reading.
Cody?
Similar pattern, really. I mean, as well as not knowing really what Reading were, I don't think they knew what they wanted Mark Bowen to be for some time either, to be brutally honest, because he just switched between two roles for about a year. But either way, with new coaches, new managers coming in, John O'Shea's involved there, which is obviously a good one as well. But there's difficulty with Derby. Bogle and Max Lowe have gone this week to Sheffield United. Good signings for them. But as Charlie said, it's a little bit strange what's going on at Derby at the moment. I'm not quite sure if it's financial fair play related or something like that. But yeah, I'm not convinced by them. They weren't great scorers until January and relied on a few youngsters. So as a result, I'm going to go for the dullest game of the weekend. It is going to be a 0-0 draw, lads. I'm telling you.
Yeah, I'm going to have to go for a draw as well because I think this is a very young Derby side that they're trying to produce. Obviously, I'm Wayne Rooney. Yeah, I don't. As Charlie alluded to with Reading, I don't know Reading. I really don't know what's the ambition apart from a really terrible song that got released a couple of years ago. So yeah, I'm going to go for 1-1 draw. That's all I can say about Reading. That's all I can put it on to. Anyway, moving on. One of the favourites to win the championship, Norwich. They're starting life in the championship again, away to Huddersfield. Cody, can I start with you in this one?
Well, I've predicted Huddersfield to go down and Norwich to be in the playoffs, so you'd think this would be an easy one for me. But on the first day of the season, I'm not sure. You mentioned about Norwich's winless run up to 12 games now. I know they were basically half a youth team against Luton and only half of their players back. But I really don't know if I can back them initially. I think once they win a game, they'll be scintillating for a while. But I don't know that that's going to come first day of the season. So it's another one, and I'm aware I've done this a few times. I'm going to play slightly safe on the first day, just so I don't look too ridiculous. I'm going for 1-1.
Charlie?
Yeah, do you know what? I sort of agree with you, but I disagree with you as well. I think actually this will be the game where they break that. No, I agree with what you're saying. I think there is obviously a lack of confidence, but I think this will be the difference. I think once the full strength side, obviously by the sounds of it, I think Jamal Lewis has got to Newcastle, but they're still holding on to the majority of their players to the first game of the season at least. So I think this will be a bit of a to and fro sort of game because Huddersfield, as much as losing the Cowleys and all that kind of thing, are still not a bad side. So I'm going to go for 3-2 Norwich City.
Yeah, I agree with the Norwich win. To be honest, I just think I don't know about Huddersfield. Obviously, manager now, he previously the under-23 manager at Leeds. Some big step up from the under-23s at first team football, especially the Championship, the most unpredictable league in the world. And obviously, these scorelines can go anywhere, I think. And this could be a potential banana skin for Norwich. But I don't think that will happen. I think Norwich will win 2-1. Millwall versus Stoke. Wow. Millwall versus Stoke. It's the opening day of the season. To be honest, I think this will be... Actually, actually going to be not a bad game, to be honest.
Yeah.
It's a different type of game from what you're going to see the rest of the fixtures this weekend. I think there'll be a draw. I really do. I think it's going to be 2-2. It's going to be an entertaining one. Charlie?
I agree. On paper, if you'd have said maybe 6 months ago, Millwall versus Stoke, you'd have turned your TV off. But actually, I genuinely think we talk about games of the weekend. I think this would be one of them because I think actually they're both teams, they're well run, well managed now, got good squads in there, and have a good game plan that they stick to. I just think Stoke, I've sort of backed them to go up, so I sort of feel like I need to. But I just think that actually Michael O'Neill is such a great manager in those sort of situations where you're away from home. It's actually the home record. I think I'd be more inclined to not back them on. So away from home, I'd actually back them against a lot of teams. So on that reason, I'm going to go 2-1 Stoke City.
Well, you tipped them to be up there, both teams to be up there, Charlie. So that scoreline doesn't surprise me. Cody?
I agree with Charlie that they're going to probably struggle more at home until the fans are back in at the least. Obviously, I've got to bear in mind the Gary Rowett factor as well. There is no club he'll want to get one over on more, probably. Maybe perhaps Birmingham as well. I don't know. But the two clubs that he'd want to get them on. Stoke, as we say, well organised. For me, I've got this down as 4th v 2nd at the end of the season. So it's going to be a close game. And for the 4th time, I'm afraid I'm going to have to play it safe, I think. I'm going to go this time. Entertaining, yes, but still 0-0.
Interesting. Very interesting. 2 games to go. Preston, they're at home to Swansea City. Charlie, start with you again.
I'll cut it short. I think it's to be a draw. I think Swansea will build up. I think it'll be like they were last year. They'll sort of build up to a bit more of a foundation, and then before you know it, it'll be 6 games out, and they're just in the playoffs or something like that, and no one's really know how they got there. So Preston, as I say, last season started really well, didn't they? And then just suddenly fell off, sort of fell off the edge of the cliff, really. So I think Alex Neil, he knows what he's doing. I think it's just for whatever reason, the COVID thing, whatever, just seems to really take the wind out of their sails. I still think they've got a good squad. They've not really lost anyone of any note, which is good. So in terms of that consistency, I just can't really pick between the two, really. And there's no tactical thing on that. I can't really pick between them. So I'm going to have to go for a 1-1 draw.
Preston might start well again, and Swansea might start slow and then build up. But I think this could be probably another tight one. I think this will end up as a Preston win, but only 1-0. Cody?
I've gone for a similar pattern as well. Swansea, I guess the uncertainty is, are they going to be able to replace Brewster's goals with the players they've got in? That's the uncertainty. Preston, again, they started well last season. They have generally the last 2 or 3 years and gradually dropped away with a smaller squad. So I think we have to go for Preston again. I'm going to go by 1 goal like Craig, but I'm going to go for 2-1. And
the final game of the weekend is Queen's Park Rangers. They're playing Nottingham Forest as the Mark Warburton derby. Going to start with Danny, Cody.
Probably the second hardest of the weekend for me to predict. I don't really know what the score's going to be. Nottingham Forest is probably the biggest uncertainty. Are they going to bounce back? Are they going to be hit by the end of last season? No one knows the answer to that. QPR, as we mentioned last season, are basically the most unpredictable side in the league. So those two things combined do not make it easy to predict a fixture. However, that is my job. So for no reason whatsoever, I'm going for a Nottingham Forest 2-0 win.
Charlie?
I'm going to go bold on this. I think QPR have been woeful at the back last year, and any games they did win towards the end of the season, they had to outscore, which I know is a cliche, but they did. It was like 3-2, 4-3, games like that. So I think they leaked goals. Forest are great going forward. They've added to that. QPR, despite having awful problems at the back, then went and signed, Lyndon Dykes, who's a centre forward. Do you know what I mean? So it's that kind of thing that they don't seem to be addressing the issue that's there. So I just can't see anything but a Forest win. I'm going to go bold on this, and you're going to laugh, but I genuinely think it'll be 4-1 Nottingham Forest. I think they're going to flood gates open. The Forest have got such a good strike force now. Lyle Taylor, Lewis Graben, Joe Lolly, they've added all of those. I think the floodgates are open. 4-1 Nottingham Forest.
Yeah, I agree with both you on the Forest win. I have to go with the same scoreline as Danny Cody with a 2-0 win to Forest. But to be honest, it's QPR. Obviously, they got. I say Lyndon Dykes is there, but obviously they've lost Hugo, they've lost Eze to Crystal Palace. They've lost a lot of goals, really, and I can't see them scoring many. And unless they get another striker in until whenever the transfer window ends, I think they're going to struggle the first few weeks. But yeah, 2-0 Forest. And those are our predictions for the Matchday 1 of the Championship. Do you agree with our predictions? Let us know in the comment section. If I'm right, Cody's wrong. Well, Charlie's right, Cody's wrong, and Cody's wrong, and the rest of us are right.
Well, I'm wrong, definitely.
Yeah, you're wrong. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to this video. You can follow us on Twitter @HonestFootball3, and we'll see you next time.